Thank you for tuning in to Behind the Music, the show where we interview extraordinary people doing extraordinary things. Today I have Mr. Rob Buster, amazing drummer, and man, he's just an overall good guy. How are you doing today?
Appreciate it, Sean. Thank you. I'm great, man. How are you?
I'm doing good.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you, brother.
Hey, it's always a pleasure to talk to you too,
man.
brother.
Yeah.
And brother, I do have a question for you. When did your passion for drumming begin?
Well, I'm getting ready to be 60 years old. I'm 59 this year.
Well, you're 59?
I'm 59
I
years
thought you were
old.
about 35. Bro.
Yeah, I wish I were. No, I don't even look that. Not even close. My passion for drumming started when I was a small child. I got my first snare drum when I was 6 years old for Christmas. My father was a drummer in the Navy. And I've just always had a passion for music from the time early as I can remember. In my home, there was always music playing in the house. My father loved old country and old gospel and old Elvis and all those things. And I can't remember ever a time when there wasn't music playing in my house. You know, I started out playing, let me move that a little closer, had a set of Tupperware bowls that were my favorite. And I would get those out of the cabinet and I would play those Tupperware bowls. And I had a steel globe that I got one year in my room that sounded like a cymbal when I would hit it with a drumstick. So I would play those Tupperware bowls and that cymbal, and I had my little snare drum that I got for Christmas, and I designed my own little drum kit in there.
Oh, nice.
And I played the Beach Boys and whatever was on the radio, just things that I could play around with. And then it just kind of graduated on up to, grade school, playing what I could in there. And then once you get into middle school and high school, I had all the bands. I was in the jazz band, the marching band, and right on up to my career of just pretty much staying active on the drums and gigging out where I could, when I could, all the way up to now. So,
nice,
yeah.
brother. And did those years of playing music in the different kind of bands help when you started playing gigs?
Oh, for sure, yeah. I mean, even understanding, even when you play on a Tupperware bowl, it sounds like a tom. It sounds like a tom-tom, or your snare sounds like a snare. So you learn, the muscle memory starts to set in and you know where things are at. I mean, I can remember the first time I sat behind a drum kit, I kind of already had an idea of where to play and what to hit because I had been just, I guess, experimenting for so long with things that weren't drums, But I mean, you can literally take like I say, a Tupperware bowl or a plastic bucket, and you see kids doing it all the time. They're playing drums and things on a plastic bucket. So it's all about rhythm and, just the love of music. Yeah.
I started out on buckets too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I used to go down there where we take vacations, and those kids are down in New Orleans. And they're playing on the street and making money.
I've seen that.
Yeah, I grab one of those buckets. I'll sit down there and play with those kids down there and have a good time.
Man, they make it sound like a real drum.
Yeah, they work their feet on it and the whole thing. It's really cool. Yeah, it's neat.
Yeah, brother. And that kind of leads me into the other question that I did want to ask you was, which drummers and which albums influenced your sound as a drummer?
Wow. Well, because I'm an 80s child, I was born in 64, but my real passion started in music my teen years for actually taking my own direction away from what my father was always listening to. I started to kind of grow and take my own direction. And I'd have to say, of course, John Bonham from Led Zeppelin's a huge influence. I mean, I think he's influenced every drummer that's ever played. I mean, in some form, even if you don't know who he is, you've heard him. I can't think of a single drummer that wouldn't know John Bonham of Led Zeppelin. Being an 80s kid, I came up with a lot of Van Halen and a lot of hair metal rock and roll. Hadn't found Christian music yet, and I was playing Van Halen. That's Alex Van Halen, a great, great drummer, amazing drummer. Steve Smith from Journey is a very technical, very good drummer, and he's just an amazing player, but he's so adaptable. He plays jazz now. He plays a lot of different styles of music. He's incredible. So look Steve Smith up. You'd love it. Currently, I mean, I'm really into, there's a guy, his name is Todd Suckerman. He plays for Styx. This guy's probably the most dynamic player I've seen in a decade. He's incredible. Just the YouTube videos this guy puts up, and he has cameras all around his kit when they're playing live shows, and you can just watch what he does, and he's just effortless, I have to work for everything I get, and it just doesn't look like he's working too hard.
I've seen a couple of videos of him on Drumeo.
Oh, yeah.
And
Todd Suckerman, I don't know how he gets his hands and feet doing what he does, but I played for over 50 years and I can't. So
you do good, brother. I mean, your feet are quick from what I can see.
I feel like I'm holding my own right now, but that's the one thing about social media. I don't like a lot of social media, but one thing that it does do is it allows you to see outside of your community what people are doing. You know, if it weren't for that, you might not know who Todd Zuckerman is.
Sure.
You may know who Styx is. You may have the band, and you may say, "Man, those guys got a great drummer," but you wouldn't know who Todd Zuckerman is. So, yeah, he's one of my guys right now. As far as Christian music, since I am kind of a metalhead a little bit from back in the day, Jen Ledger from Skillet.
She's nice too.
Is incredible, and what always gets me about her is her passion for playing. You can see it when she plays. I mean, she is all over that drum set, and sings at the same time.
That has to be hard, singing and playing at the same time.
Yeah, I play and I sing. I sing backup. A lot of things that we do, I sing backup. I don't sing lead, and singing backup is kind of forgiving. So I can play, and if there's a hard part, maybe I don't sing that part in backup. Maybe I do if I'm feeling it that day. But yeah, it's something you really got to practice at. You know, drumming, of course, comes first. Being the clock, being that backbone with the bass player is my first priority one. But getting that backup singing is a lot of fun. It adds a good flair to your night out. Yeah.
And brother, like when you're singing and playing at the same time, do you think more about the singing than the playing, or more about the playing than the singing?
I would say I think more about the playing.
Okay.
Because once you become really familiar with lyrics and you get used to it, the first few times you're looking over the sheet and trying to read words. Once you start to feel it and you know where you're going to sing, then you focus on the clock, focus on the time, and keep that moving the way it should. Then you sing that little background harmony stuff, high or low, and just fills the music up a little bit. Right. But yeah, drumming for sure. It's a priority.
Yeah, that's awesome, brother. And can you tell me about how you got connected with Kindred Spirits?
Kindred Spirits and Stained Glass Saints.
Yep.
So Stained Glass Saints is Mark Sasser is a guitar player and a singer here in town, and he's also a pastor. He called me up, and I played music with his son, Eric Bowers. You know Eric.
Yeah, I know Eric.
Yeah. Played a lot of music with Eric, and he wanted to put together like a 3-piece blues kind of thing. And since we were both Christian believers and all that, and with the churches and the stained glass, and he just came one day, give me a text, says, "What do you think about a name of Stained Glass Saints?" I said, "I love it. Let's go." So
that's cool.
Yeah, it was a good thing. Like I say, we play blues and we play let me see, a lot of older 70s stuff and all that for that crowd. It's really fun, and it's just something we do for fun. We only play about once a month. We practice maybe twice a month, maybe. If we got a show coming up, we'll hit it. We'll start hitting it every week and get that tuned up. But it's a really good, fun thing. And right now, it's kind of inactive. Everybody's pretty busy right now. And, so, yeah. And Kindred Spirits is another project that he has going with April Norris, an incredible singer. And they just do an acoustic thing, him and her. And every once in a while, they like to get a full band involved when they go to a bigger venue, something like that. So he'll call up, and me and Eric will go down there. Eric will play the bass, and I'll play the drums. And so Kindred Spirits becomes a 4-piece that day.
Because I've seen it on Facebook a few times where y'all were playing as a 4-piece band.
Yep, we played the Loft, I think, on that.
Yep.
Yeah, it was really fun.
How did y'all get connected with the Loft?
Mark's been playing around this town. Mark and me have been playing around this town for so long. He knows a lot of these guys, and they'll call and. We try to set it up ourselves, but a lot of times some band will cancel, something like that, and we'll get called in and go do it. So it's fun. And we used to do the Bikes on Broadway. We do the Barks and Blues Festival downtown. Yeah, fun.
That's awesome. It sounds fun.
Oh yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, all that is really great, but where my passion is right now is just really playing the contemporary Christian stuff. I found that a few years ago. It's been about 4 or 5 years ago. I started going to Fairview Baptist, and they needed a drummer, and I guess God pointed me that direction, and that's a whole different story. But I ended up sitting up there and playing for them one day when they were just warming up. They were trying to get the sound check done for an outside show they were doing because of COVID. And it was just down the street from my house. And I walked up and I saw them, and the guy that was trying to do the sound check and adjust the sound was also trying to play the drums at the same time.
Was it Robert?
It was no, it wasn't Robert. It was Jimbo.
I didn't know he was a drummer until last month.
Yeah, he can play the drums too. And he was trying to fix the sound, and then he would walk back to the soundboard and try to correct it, then come back and play the drums again. So I told Eric, and I'd never been up there before, ever, and didn't meet any of these people before. And I said, Eric looked at me and says, "Rob," and I said, "Eric, hey, good to see you. I hadn't seen him in so long." And he says, I said, I can sit in just while he gets the sound adjusted Sat in for that one time. I went to the church the next morning. That was a Saturday. I went to the church the next morning on Sunday. Never missed another Sunday. And about a month later, I was the drummer for Fairview Baptist. So, yeah, it was an awesome story. Awesome. So God really directly pulled me straight from my front porch up to the church through music. He knew that was how he could pull me, you know.
It sounded like he had a plan all along.
Yeah,
brother.
so I don't even question it. You know, I went up there and never felt anything like playing the Christian music. It's a whole different ball game of than playing the old rock and roll and all that. There's nothing gets your heart in the game more than that. Yeah.
That's awesome, brother. And tell me about how that journey was on transitioning from never playing in a church to playing in a church.
Yeah, well, I still struggle with volume, with dynamics. When I play drums, man, I'm by far not the best drummer in the world by a long shot, but I play with my heart and I play with passion. And sometimes what happens when you play with your heart and passion, you play a little too hard. And I would say that would be my fault. And I've learned through playing the contemporary Christian music and modern Christian music that you have to be a little more dynamic. And I think that's the biggest thing I've taken away from that. And of course, just controlling the emotions is a big deal. I mean, that music really can hit you in the heart a lot different than any other kind of music. So you have to be on your game. Yeah.
And brother, tell me about the type of drum sets that you use for your gigs versus something you might use in church.
Yeah, I use in church we use a Gretsch Renown, and it's a beautiful, beautiful drum set. But it's made of I want to say this is an oak kit, real warm, real dark. And you want that for the lower volumes. And of course, we're muting that as much as we can and those kind of things for the church. We don't really let them sing as much as they can. But my favorite kit, I think, to play would be, I've got a Tamastar Classic that I use. It's Birch Babinga. And the Birch Babinga's got a lot of bite to it. It's got a lot of attack. So when you're in somewhere that's noisy or the miking is funny like that, I want to be able to pierce that. I want to be able to attack that sound and come out. So those I use those. But a Tama Maple is always a beautiful thing. I'm a Tama guy. I always have been a Tama guy. Yeah, I love their drums. I love their hardware. I think they sell the best hardware out there, I think. And if you gig a lot and you're moving that stuff around, you need it to be tough, and Tama's where it's at. So they're not paying me for that promotion, by the way.
I mean, hey, if they're listening, they might.
If they're listening, maybe they send me a check. I don't know. But yeah, I love Tama. As far as my cymbals, I use all Sabian. I'm really a fan of the AAX. I just ordered a worship set of the AAX that are really super nice. And the XSR, like you have on the kit here, those splashes and those are really, really great. So
I love the splashes.
Yeah, yep. The XSR cymbals from Sabian are the ones that it's a kind of a budget pack of cymbals, but they sound amazing. I have 6 of them. Of nice, the XSRs, bro. Yeah, that I just love to play them. And it doesn't matter that the AAXs are higher and the HHX is a very higher line, but the XSRs are awesome.
Do they make hi-hats too?
Oh yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
Yep, all the XSRs are great. I'll let you use them. I got a set of those. You can borrow them and see if you like them.
Oh, thanks, brother.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
And brother, so what kind of drum sets do you use like for gigs?
So when I gig, I usually use I've got a Tama 4-piece. It's just a maple kit, and it's a mid-range kit. I didn't want to take my Birch Babingas out on the road when I go do a show because you're going to scratch them, you're going to ding them, you're going to those kind of things. I needed a workhorse type kit, so I bought a Tama Superstar. It's a maple kit. It's beautiful sounding kit. And it's red sparkles, so it's real pretty and looks good in the lights. Yeah, and so I use that one, a smaller kit. It's not as much to move around. Yeah, my bigger kit kind of stays home, and I work and practice on that and the Rolands. Yeah, because I also play the Roland E kit. I've got a Roland TD50 that I use to play, and that's a good one for when you need to be quiet. If I want to play at 11 o'clock at night and I need to go out and practice because I got church the next morning, then I'll go out there and play on that Roland kit. Nobody can hear you. Just put headphones on and go for it.
That's the beauty of electric kits.
Yep, they feel different, and you have a lot of hardcore drummers that are, that love the E-kits, and then you have a lot of hardcore drummers that they don't like them at all. They think it's it doesn't sound natural. It doesn't sound all those things. And I would say that I'm in the middle of the road. I absolutely love playing an acoustic drum set, but there was a time when I didn't play anything but Rolands, and I gigged with them too.
Wow.
So the beauty of that is you pretty much hand a sound guy the cables to it, and he hooks up to the system, and he can control everything, and you don't have the stage sound. So everything's coming through your in-ears. So you can make it sound as deep and low as you want, or you can make it sound like anything you want. And that's the beauty of playing an E-kit.
Because you can get so many different sounds out of it.
Oh, sure. And stage sound is a big deal. Like, for instance, a church is a perfect example. If you need to play a church gig and you can't make a lot of noise, sometimes your technique suffers when you can't play to your full, if you're asked to play really quietly and, my technique, at least I know speaking for myself, suffers a bit, when I can't get a full motion, fully engage in that muscle memory. And so it suffers a bit. So with a rolling, you don't have to worry about that. You just play it like you want to play it, and they turn the sound down. That's the beauty of that, yeah.
And they're probably easier to travel with, too?
I would say they're probably harder.
Oh, harder? Okay.
Yeah, because with an acoustic kit, you take your stands, you set them up, you mount the toms on there, and off you go. The electric kit, everything has to come apart. All the wiring, you have to unplug everything. When you set it back up, you have to plug it all back in. And it's a little harder to travel with it. Yeah.
What was the most memorable moment you had in your career so far?
That's kind of an easy one.
Okay.
That's kind of an easy one. The day that I got called up to play for Fairview, and I sat in that day, and that feeling that hit my heart when I played that Christian, and Fairview, they were all old 80s rockers that played that music, and so every song we played turned into very powerful, very loud, and we played it with all our hearts. And I'd have to say, my most memorable time was playing to a packed church and playing the Christmas music. I mean, I've played a lot of shows that paid money, and I've played a lot of shows that was in a big crowds downtown and that kind of thing. But those memories of playing that Christmas music and that spirit that was in the building playing then, that's probably my best memory.
Yeah, that's awesome, brother.
Yeah, it was fun.
And that kind of leads me into another question I have for you. What was one of the greatest lessons you've learned or greatest pieces of advice you've received so far?
All right. Greatest lessons I've learned and piece of advice I ever learned. I have something that sits on my desk at work, and it's a sign, and it says, "Comparison is the thief of joy." And if you think about that, comparison is the thief of joy. Just like I just told you, my favorite drummers that I like to listen to, John Bonham, these guys, I'm never going to play with those guys. But I absolutely love to play my drums. If I compared myself to every other drummer that was either better than me or different than me, it would take the joy away that I feel from playing what I can play, how I can do. So I live with that every time I sit behind the kit. You might not be the best guy. You might not be the best at this or that. That really relates to anything in life. If you compare yourself to anybody else but what's bringing you joy and what's glorifying God, man, it robs you of your joy. So, yeah, comparison is the thief of joy. I live by it.
Hey, that's an amazing quote, bro.
Yeah.
I might have to write that down.
Write it down and put it up on the wall, man. It works, yeah. Every time I feel down about myself or I play the drums, or I'll tell you another time it really gets me is go out and see a show or go out and see another drummer, and you just know by watching this guy, say, man, this guy's got the chops. I can't do this or I can't do that, But you forget about the 20 things you can do, and you're so worried about the things you can't do, it robs you of your joy of just sitting down and enjoying the music and playing with your heart. Yeah, comparison is the thief of joy, and it is.
That's so true, bro.
Yeah.
And it makes me kind of think about a Bible story where it talks about a guy who has 5 talents and the guy who has 1 talent, and the guy who had 1 talent, he was mad because he didn't have the 5 talents, so he just gave up.
That's exactly right. Then he had no talents.
Yes.
That's right.
So it's God gives us all talents, and if we just operate in where we're gifted at, then
exactly right.
Our life would be so much better. And the band, no band is the same.
That's right.
That's why we love all our favorite drummers, because there's something about them that stands out.
Yep.
But if they all sounded the same,
yeah, right. Nobody would be. Yeah, no one would. If they all sounded the same, nobody would stand out, would they?
No.
And what stands out for you may not stand out for me.
That's true.
And that's the beauty of it. I mean, I see music like that. I just found it a very big enemy in my younger years drumming when I would compare myself to somebody that was way better or way different, and I tried to be that. it didn't let me be me. So that's where I play.
That's awesome, brother. I've kind of done that in my life when I first started.
Yeah. I mean, I watch your videos, and you've come so far from where you started to where you are now.
Thank you, brother.
But if you compared yourself to somebody who's been playing forever and they're a professionally touring drummer, and it is you would let if you let that get to you, it could stop you from having the joy you're having right now playing.
That's true.
You know, and every time I see you play, the passion I see you playing with, and that look in your eye, I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter if it's the hardest thing in the world or the easiest thing in the world. When you feel it and you see it, the passion in that, you love it.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
And brother, do you have any words of wisdom you would like to share?
Words of wisdom. Yeah, I mean, going in the same vein of the, the compassion or the comparison is the thief of joy. I would say that if I had any words of wisdom at all, I would tell other musicians out there, whether you play the drums, whether you play the guitar, violin, I don't care what you play. If you love the music, my word of wisdom would just be to play with your heart, play with passion, don't hold back. And I've always seen music as almost like a painting. It's artwork, and what you play on the drums and what I play on the drums might be completely different. But that's why there are different artists and why there's different pictures on the wall. So somebody might look at a picture on the wall and it may be the most simple picture you've ever seen, and somebody's going to love it and somebody's not.
That's true.
And that's the beauty of art and playing music and drumming, or whether you're a keyboardist or whether you're a pianist or, it doesn't matter, a guitarist. If you love what you're doing and you're playing it, there's somebody out there that loves it too. So don't ever let, you thinking that comparing yourself to someone else, don't ever let that stop you, because somebody loves what you're doing and you're making a difference in somebody's life. Yeah.
That's definitely words of wisdom, brother.
It's art. And, no matter how simple it can be, I've seen some of the most technical drummers in the world, that play that didn't move me. And then I've seen some of the drummers that were just deep in the groove and really, really feeling that music, and man, raise the hairs on my arm, the chill bumps, I think, man, the guy's in the groove. So yeah, it's not always about the technical things. It's about the groove in your heart. Play with your heart, play with passion. Yeah.
And that's one of the greatest lessons I learned too, brother.
Yeah. Have fun.
Have fun and play with your heart. Because that's what you always tell me.
I told you that. I said, yeah. You said, you don't look stiff and don't look like you're not having fun. If you're smiling, you're gonna have fun. It's gonna make you have fun. Yeah.
All right, brother. And I think that's what music is all about too, is us having fun. Because if all of us were technical, counting everything,
sure,
and none of us had fun,
well, there's a time and a place for all that stuff. But I mean, just look at a situation like this. You go camping with your family. You're out there with your family. Somebody pulls out a guitar around a campfire and starts strumming a simple 3 chords, and everybody's singing some song. You're having a great time, and you're making music. It doesn't have to be a huge drum kit and this technical huge. It doesn't have to be Steve Vai wailing away on the guitar. It's art. And if you're just having fun and just enjoy that, that's what I try to do.
I'll definitely have to write that quote down too.
Comparison is the thief of joy. Remember it. And it's in everything. It's in everything you do. It doesn't matter what it is. It's in everything.
That's awesome, brother. And brother, thank you for coming onto the podcast.
Yeah, it was awesome. My first podcast. It was really cool. Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Hey, thank you, brother. And thank you for letting me interview you. And I wanted to say thank you for being on Behind the Music, the show where we interview extraordinary people doing extraordinary things. I hope that someone was blessed by what Mr. Rob said today, because comparison is the thief of joy.
Right on. That's
so you might have to write that one down, but remember that and just enjoy your journey. I pray y'all be blessed.